All right. Well, the game I chose, and I played this many times before in the past, and I played through maybe half of it last night just to get reacquainted to it. It's on a system I don't really care for. I know you guys are big on the DS and the 3DS, but I don't know. I was never big on it. A few games on there I liked, but this was one of them. But I just realized when I turned this thing on, all these games I have, like I had that ambassador program, so maybe I was like, whoa, maybe DS isn't so bad after all. Maybe I'll go back and play these games. But the game I had, the zombie game, I'm sure there's more zombie games on DS, a couple more, but the one I picked was the mother or the father of all like modern zombie games, Resident Evil. Deadly Silence here, which is a sort of like not really a remake, just sort of like a port of the PlayStation game with added material. This is 2006, which was a 10-year anniversary from the release of the original Resident Evil. It came out in 1996. I would have chose that game to talk about, but there's some stuff about this I really like. This is probably my favorite version of the original Resident Evil. I think I like it even more than the remake. I really love this version. But getting back to the original one that this is based on from 2000 from 1996, like that's the game that really started piquing my interest in zombies. Like I'd already liked the George Romero movies and a few like other stuff like Night of the Comet and Night of the Creeps. Like I was big on zombie movies, but this thing I really elevated my love for zombies. And one of the few games in my life where uh, I have like nightmares. Like usually I don't dream about the games I'm playing, or maybe only a couple games in my life. As corny as this is, like I remember when I first played it, and I was probably a grown man, like 17 or 18. But I would have nightmares about this. Like I'd be in a house and there'd be zombies in there. Like, oh, I don't want to go in that room. There's one of those zombies in there. So this game like had a big effect on me. The original one on PlayStation, not just because I like zombies. I thought like as simple and corny as it was, it had really likable, memorable characters. Like, and it just gets right into the action. Like, there's not really much build up at the beginning. And I love FMV too. The first game had FMV videos. That stuff always does it for me in video games. But kind of starts off just they're flying over a forest looking for some murderers, like murders had taken place on the outskirts of town. That they go down, and one of their fellow compatriot helicopters has crash landed. So it starts off pretty fast with not much explanation, and it gets into killer zombie dogs. They race to a mansion. This is probably my favorite setting in a video game. Something about this big creepy mansion. At the time, it almost felt like a Metroid game. Like you're unlocking areas, but it's more of like a 3D environment. You're finding keys to unlock different areas, finding new weapons. So that's like the vibe I got at first, and it was like the most cinematic thing I had ever played. And it really took me back to like George A. Romero movies because of the zombies. Like I remember that some of the rooms, like I'd open the door and there'd be like two zombies there. Like, oh, I don't want to go in there. I'd go back out. Like those, you just shoot them a couple times and they die. But like I tried to find ways around them. But like I don't want to go in that room. There's like three zombies in there. Um, but anyway, this one here I think really captures the essence of like a cinematic zombie movie. And it not only it does it have zombies, it's also like an action horror, like science fiction story. There's all kinds of crazy monsters in here. You fight like giant sharks, giant plant monsters, giant spiders. There's some big crazy boss monster creatures at the end. But at the core, I think it's pretty much a zombie game. Now there have been zombie games before this, but this is like the first one that really sucked me into it. This DS version here is the one I recommend. I don't know if you guys have played this. I know Alex has. Um, it has a lot of stuff that pretty much the whole game from the originals here. What I like about it is it has skippable cutscenes. So as much as I love the cutscenes and I love the corny acting, you can skip all that. You can skip the load screens, like when you go into the door opens slowly. You can skip it. It's all cartridge based, so that cuts that stuff all cuts into your game time. So it's really easy to unlock the rocket launcher on this. Even with Chris, it was a pain in the butt to get through this game with Chris because like he has to find way more puzzle pieces and his inventory smaller than Jill's. So even on this one, I could get it in under 3 hours. Skip the cutscenes. It has quick turnaround, which wasn't in the original. It started in Resident Evil 3, so it's a lot easier to maneuver in this game. It's got the quick knife like Resident Evil 4. Like you always have the knife equipped if you hit L, so you can save ammo that way. When you knock them down, you can carve at them. Something that came around in Resident Evil 4. And your knife doesn't take up inventory, so it's just you don't have to worry about that. Another thing, oh yeah, you can reload the gun anytime before you have to wait for the ammo to completely run out, as you do in real life. On this one, you can reload anytime, just like Resident Evil 4. So I would recommend this. Play the original mode. It's just like a really good version of the original. It also has rebirth mode, which is kind of interesting. I prefer original mode, but rebirth mode utilizes the stylus and the touch screen a lot. With the puzzles, you can touch the screen, and not only that, but there's a knife slashing segment. Every once in a while, you run into a first-person segment where crows and zombies come at you and dogs, and you slash at them with the stylus, which is kind of cute concept. I enjoyed it, but I just stick to the original most of the time. So Resident Evil Deadly Silence here, based on the original game, or it is the original game. So don't let that Deadly Silence confuse you. If you see this game, this is just the original Resident Evil 1, probably the best version of it. So that's the game I got for Zombie Month.
Yeah, good pick.
Some cool trivia about Resident Evil. It's called Biohazard in Japan.
Shut up, Spencer, you nerd.
Did you know Deadly Silence is short for UBA?
I don't have any questions because I'm very familiar with this, so I just wanted to add a couple of things. Yeah, I love this version of the game. I went in like 2009. I got a light blue DSi, which I missed. Somebody broke it. I was actually on like a church trip, and this fucking adult ran past me and knocked it out of my hands and broke it, and then replaced it with a black one when I told him I wanted the same blue one, so I never got it again. So one of these days I'm gonna buy another fucking blue DSi just to have it, because like I missed that thing. But when I got it with Deadly Silence and a Prince of Persia game, because my parents know me very well. And I played the hell out of that version. That's my favorite version of Resident Evil 1 as well. I think one of the best things you didn't mention is that the other screen displays your map.
Right. Yeah.
Nicest feature in any goddamn Resident Evil game is having two screens, and one is just for the map because you need that map.
Yeah.
And that type of
thing. I guess that's the only something you could do on this system, I guess. Huh?
I'm sad they didn't port the other ones over, because my god, and like the DS, the original DS was like perfect for like PS1 and N64 era games. I would have loved to see a port of like 2 or 3 with that system.
Oh, excellent! Yeah. Oh, also I forgot to mention. Oh, go ahead.
No, you first.
Oh, I forgot to mention the character models. They kind of cleaned them up on this. They look a lot better. Like there's more polygons. It's probably the nicest looking version of the original game also as well.
I was going to make a Pokemon Brilliant Diamond comparison, but I feel uncomfortable doing it now.
I was going to ask you, Tylord, not Alex, who's being very selfish right now. I was going to ask you, what do you think the definitive version of the original Resident Evil is currently?
I want to, me personally, I want it to be the original game, but I think it's the remake. Is that the one, the definitive? Like that's canon now, the remake. Even though it's not much different than this, I think that they're pretty close to the same game. It just looks better. It has added stuff. I want to believe it's the original one just because that's the way I started. I like the remake, but I'm thinking the remake's the definitive version. That's the one that keeps getting released on everything and updated.
Hmm.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, we played the remake. The remake and the original are different on base level when it comes to the layout of the mansion and the puzzles. They're changed between versions.
Yeah.
So while they're contextually they're the same story and the same premise, but they have enough differences that I like. They're different games to me.
Yeah.
No bag lady.
Yeah, no bag lady in the original. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the bag. and the crimson head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no Crimson Heads.
It looks like there's some multiplayer in this. Have you delved into that?
I never had any friends that liked Resident Evil at the time. They were all I was kind of a young man when this came out, and everyone was worried about more important things, and I was still playing Resident Evil. But I know there is you can go through the mansion with 2 players and try to like see who gets the best score. Like you can run through. I forget what the objective is, but you can run through the mansion like 2 guys at once, which is cool. Like there's never been anything like that in a Resident Evil 1 game. It might be kind of like the mercenary mode in part 2 and 3, but there's two guys. Yeah, I know you can unlock more characters with that by playing through the game on different settings. But yeah, I didn't delve deep into that mode.
If I'm ever out your way, I'm bringing my DS.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. Oh, can we still play these online? They don't go online
I don't
anymore,
think
do
so.
they?
I'm sure there's probably some sort of fan server or something, right?
It's LAN only, so local area network. So I think you.
Oh,
DS,
okay, yeah.
The 3DS, I think, can still go online for competitive. I might be mistaken.
Yeah, okay.
No, I mean it's wireless support LAN. So yeah, you should.
DS, yeah. You can bring it out. You do it that way.
And then the 9 playable characters are Chris, Jill, Barry, Rebecca, Wesker, Forrest. That's Forrest Whitaker, I think. Kenneth, Richard, and Enrico.
Yeah.
Forrest Gump.
Yeah, and that's
it's Forrest Gump. The zombie bit me in the buttocks.
Lieutenant Dan, I killed a giant snake.
I killed a giant snake. How do you like your snake? Gumbo snake.
Damn it, Forrest. Been killed.
Yeah. Cool.
How does it play with the analog stick on the 2 or the 3DS?
I usually just use the D-pad. It works fine. The little circle button, it'll work on this. It's an original DS game, but I guess those are all enabled to play with the circle pad or whatever it is, so it works fine with that. I usually just use the D-pad. I don't know why. Same as on Street Fighter 4, I usually just use the D-pad.
So this was the first way I tried to play the original Resident Evil, and my only issue was that I didn't know the puzzles. So sometimes you have to engage with the environment, and the screen size was just a little small for me. If I knew the game better, I think I would enjoy that version more. I do appreciate the map being there.
I just love having it portable. I would take my DS to school with me and stuff, and and whenever teachers we were done for the day, and they were just like, "Okay, you guys talk amongst yourselves." I'd be like, "Bam, man. Resident Evil time!" Like anytime I had free time, lunchtime, bam, Resident Evil time. I was playing that thing for like months.
Yeah, that's another thing, to have that game portable. Like that's what I always wanted, this game portable, because I was always more of a portable player back then. And there was that Game Boy version I was so hyped about. It was the 8-bit Game Boy version of Resident Evil with all the rooms and the camera angles. I was so hyped about that on Game Boy Color, but then it got canceled. I do have like a repro. I have a repro hack of it now, like the cartridge.
That's an impressive
like it's
tech demo. That what they.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the DS was like, that was a time, like the idea of like porting N64 and PS1 games, like that's just so huge.
You were asking about the pad on the 3DS. Much like Mario 64, it's still programmed for the D-pad. So like, I don't think this. I don't find the circle pad to really add anything to it, control wise, because it's still programmed for a D-pad, rather than like an analog stick.
Hey y'all, don't forget to subscribe to them button mappers.